On today's show, we're sitting down with the founder of Frontstep Investing, and we dive deep on how you can invest in real estate without a ton of cash and someone else doing all the work. Enjoy the show. All right, hey guys, we're going to talk about investing today, and one of the big problems that you find getting into investing is coming up with the capital to purchase a rental property on your own. That becomes a very difficult task, especially nowadays with the inflation and interest rates going up, everything becoming more and more expensive. It makes it difficult to just enter the market, right? They say a lot of future generations are going to be renters and not owners. So we have Matt here, and he is from Frontstep, and he is building a pretty cool product that's going to allow more and more people who don't have all the capital set up already to get into the real estate market. So I don't want to take too much of his thunder. So Matt, thanks for coming on the show.
Yes, thank you for having me.
No problem. It's pretty interesting how we met. I just found you on Instagram and we kind of like
Cold
connected.
Call, reach out, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And we had that nice little interview, video call, and the new form of meeting people, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you had some interesting stuff to share about what you guys are doing. But before we get into that, I want to kind of talk about who you are, where you came from, what's your education, what was your upbringing like, you know,
Yeah,
just kind
absolutely.
of like let people know where you started, and then we can talk about where you are and where you're going.
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in Muskoka, Ontario. So specifically in Bracebridge, a super small town. I went to school in Ottawa, which was quite interesting to see. Like I was like almost like a fishbowl experience living in Bracebridge, going to Ottawa. It's really eye-opening.
Yeah, that must have been a big change from like,
it was pretty crazy.
Outback country to
exactly.
hustle and bustle of Ottawa, right? Like
yeah, exactly.
Parliament Hill.
So it's interesting. I did school, and, you know, I was never one to be super engaged with school. So I was always like sitting in class and thinking about other ideas that I could be working on, or something that I could be, you know, working on that's not directly school.
Yeah, for sure.
So I ended up starting a company for diabetics, and I had that made and kind of have like a passive thing now. But I found that my true passion actually laid in real estate, like thinking back to like high school and talking to my buddies about investing in real estate and how we could get into real estate investment together.
Okay, so let's just touch on the diabetic thing, because I think it's a really cool thing that you kind of created. So you decided to build this diabetic thing. Like what specific was just a short?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So my girlfriend's actually a type 1 diabetic, and she had a test kit that she had to carry around. It was like kind of like a raggedy pencil case.
Mm-hmm.
And she was kind of like, oh, it'd be nice to have like a better wallet or a better solution for this. So that's kind of where that idea stemmed from. I ended up like getting a leather goods company to manufacture a wallet, which grew into like a backpack and a handbag, specifically for holding diabetics, supplies.
Oh, very interesting. And then were you like a distributor or wholesaler? Like how did you sell that product?
Yeah. So I started like getting, designing and getting them manufactured myself. And then I kind of worked into like wholesale, partnerships with other diabetic brands.
Did you do any like selling on Amazon or anything like that?
No, I didn't get into
Shopify.
Amazon, Shopify. Yeah. Like it was big on Shopify.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting. I just really wanted to touch on that because that's a very good side hustle, I think, for younger people or newer people that don't really know what to do, like coming up with like a good idea, and like Shopify and Amazon are really opening up that world for
it's crazy.
People to create things, right? And so it's cool that you were able to create.
Yeah, the tool is so powerful. Like it's what you can learn. It's like, that's kind of what got me into business and being like, well, okay, I can do something on my own now. This was like a good stepping stone to get there.
Sweet. Okay, so let's get back to what you're doing. So you were in school. You went to university or college?
College, yeah.
College. And what did you major in?
Yeah, so I did police foundations. I finished that and then ended up going into business and really found like a true passion for business and doing that. My grades weren't amazing, but I just knew that like what they were teaching in business does not directly correlate to like the real world all the time. There's always like what you learn in books, and then bringing that into practice is always such a different approach, I guess, if you will.
Yep. Okay. So you went to school, finished off school. So you went to police foundations and pivoted to business.
Yes.
Slight differences. Did you like stop wanting to be a police? I don't know.
Yeah, it just wasn't like, I don't know. It just wasn't what didn't feel right at the time. So I think like business gave me like that freedom to really be creative. One thing was people helped me a lot in school, and I found business was a way for me to give back to help people as well. Like I can give them like the best product possible, which also, comes back to Frontstep and what you were saying about how difficult it is to get into the real estate market. So I've talked to, people of all ages, and it seems to be more difficult to get into primary dwellings, and let alone like secondary investment properties.
No, absolutely. Okay. So you built out this company. So let's touch base on Frontstep. Like, what is it from a high level, and what are you building here?
Yeah, absolutely. So Frontstep's a platform where anybody can invest in specific properties, with any amount of money. We found that there's tons of opportunity for individuals with lots of money to get into property investments, but there's not as many for people with not so much money.
So when we talk about it, opportunities with a lot of money, you're talking about accredited investors.
Sure, yeah, accredited investors.
What's the threshold for accredited investors?
So you could see like accredited investors, maybe they're investing like $50,000 or $100,000, which is quite unattainable for most young individuals to get into it. It's daunting, and it makes a barrier for people to get into it.
So that was like the opportunity you saw that you wanted to kind of help.
Exactly.
Fix. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the minimum, I guess, you can invest in with your company, and what is the most, or is there a top?
Yeah. So we don't have like a minimum. We don't have a top as well. So, we will have a top in terms of, you need to be an accredited investor to
qualify
for higher amounts. But we keep it really open, and that's our goal, is to break the barriers down as much as possible for amounts.
Very interesting. And then how are you resourcing deals, or like, how are you trying to find deals to purchase and raise money for?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're doing a mix of like our own deals. So we're going to be the GP on certain properties, but we're also looking to work with people that have tons of industry experience. So developers, people that like do multifamily projects, and people that really know the industry inside and out. And that's going to help us to develop better deal flow. It's going to help us to keep more deals for our customers and our clients, and really drive that.
Awesome. And then, so do you each raise per deal, or like, am I investing just in Frontstep, and then I get like, do you distribute my money across all of your projects? Like, how does that play out?
Yeah. So I guess that's where we differ from REITs. So instead of investing in like the whole pool of properties, you would actually get to pick individual properties that you want, and we can provide you with the diligence for you to make that investment decision.
Oh, that's awesome. What are some of your recent deal returns paying out currently?
Yeah, so we have
projected.
We have a deal in Muskoka going on right now. It's a fix and flip. We're expecting a 6% return, and that is a 5-month timeline for that project.
Oh wow, that's amazing. 6% in this market in 5 months. I mean, what did GFCs pay out? 1% a year, something like that nowadays. That's really awesome. I guess, is there anything else you want to touch on for Frontsteps that you want to maybe like elaborate for us about it? Like,
yeah, I'm not sure. Open to answering any questions about it if any come up.
Okay, so you built this brand. Is this like on an app, or is it like all exclusively online? Like, how do we?
Yeah, so
take me through the process, I guess, of investing with Frontstep.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we're a web-based platform. We'd like to get to a mobile app. And we're currently taking investors through, like conversation and like through phone call. And our web platform is going to be open shortly for anybody to sign up and actually do the entire investment process on the web platform.
And are there any like requirements to become the investor? Obviously, like IDs and stuff like that.
Yeah. So there's like, KYC, which is know your customer.
Mm-hmm.
If you used other investment apps, you might have seen like where you have to like submit an ID through the app, and they're likely either made their own software for that or partnered with a platform to check IDs. So we do like ID check and bank account verification.
So I am not on the fundraising end of the business. So how do you like start this? Like what? Where do you go? You know, like I know how to find investment deals. I know how to renovate in and out, like all that sort of stuff. So that's my background. So like, if you expand on that, like how did you decide to like?
Yeah. So I think, it came down to the barrier for people. So it was like, well, how do I even get into this? And it was something that I had to learn, from the ground up. And I had to understand really like what the process was to fundraise and how to do it properly and how to do it legally. And like actually the regulation that falls into place with that.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of companies out there crowdfunding real estate right now. There's a lot of stock companies out there. What is your current competition, if any, and like what sort of edge or do they have over or you, or where do you feel yourself in this space? I mean, I think you're pretty new at the space, so like not new, but like you guys are kind of one of the very few companies that are doing this. So it's very cool to talk about what it is that you're doing here. This is not, I could find a million old school regular type of investors or REIT companies, but like this stuff is cutting edge, right? You're at the front step, as they would say.
Nice. So it's definitely interesting. There's a few companies in Canada that are doing crowdfunded real estate. So I'd say it depends on the model. A couple of them have different models than us, but we're really focusing on going through like the exempt market dealer license, and that gives us the ability to focus on non-accredited investors and really bring the whole investment opportunity to everybody.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you, I guess, was how do you guys break out your deals? Like what percentage do you make versus the investors? I know you said 6%. How long is my money tied up for?
Sure.
How does that kind of play out with your business?
Yeah. So in terms of like you getting a return as an investor, each deal could be a little bit different, and you'll be like fully aware of this as you go to make that investment decision. So yeah, that really comes down to like when you're dealing with like the risks of a deal can go, maybe a deal can go better than expected or worse than expected. That really comes down to like risk acknowledgement and making sure that the investor knows that, real estate doesn't always go up. There does have fluctuations in it. So an understandment of risk is kind of needed for that section of our business.
And so, okay, so you're the GP on this Muskoka deal.
Yeah, correct.
If you bring on another GP, like another person is going to be managing the project, do you provide like your analytics? Like kind of this other company, they would let you know like their thoughts about this GP, like how experienced they are, like what their past track record. Like I don't know how you guys break that down on your platform.
Yeah, definitely. So I think like one thing that holds people back is like the trust factor of having like a good background or a good track record in real estate or the opportunities. So definitely being like super open and displaying what kind of track record the people that we're working with has, and maybe like different examples of due diligence that we've like conducted for the deals with them.
I see. Okay. And then, so let's talk about the percentage of revenue that you're going to get as an investor. Like, how does my $100 work? Like, how long do you tie me up for? Is there, could there be a deal that's supposed to be 5 months and it's going to go to 8 months? Like, how does that play out with your platform?
Yeah, for sure. So we tend to have our deals like structured out and give the timelines of what's expected. So if we do a multifamily deal, for example, it might be like a 5-year investment term. Then your question is like, if it goes over that 5 years, what happens basically? Yeah.
So if I was to invest, let's say, I don't know, $10,000 with your company or $1,000, like how does my money go into a deal? Like obviously you mentioned that you're going to get a percentage per each project, obviously, because they're all going to be different.
Right.
So if I have like your one project, 6%, is that 6% guaranteed, or is that going to fluctuate based on the performance of that project?
Yeah. So that return does fluctuate based on the performance of the project. You would be like a share owner based on your investment. So let's just use like $100,000 investment, and you invested $1,000, and you would own 1% of that property as a limited partner. So there is some fluctuation just because of like market volatility. But usually we aim to go on like a refinance basis so that we can keep everything like as accurate as possible for our projected returns.
Okay, cool. Okay, so it's pretty cool that you've been able to, or that you're working towards fixing this high level barrier of entry, I guess, into investing. Like I said, even on primary homes, it's becoming more and more difficult. So,
right.
And then getting the returns that you guys are going to be able to offer through real estate investing is why a lot of people invest in real estate, and that you're breaking down the barrier for everybody to be able to get into that world is a pretty awesome thing that you're doing. So now that you know what you know, one of the things we like to do is give advice to newer, or I say younger, but like, first time investors, because really you could start investing at any age, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
and everybody's situation is different. So what kind of advice would you give to yourself, or like somebody just kind of getting into the market, and just from your experiences, even from business wise, or even from going to school, like how would you change, what would you tell younger Matt now that you know what you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing is fear is a big holdback for me. For me anyways. I was very like fearful of messing up, or trying to do something new. I was scared to make mistakes, honestly. But what I've learned over the years is that mistakes are the best way to learn. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Really put yourself out there. Push to learn, but also push to put your learning into practice.
Would you get Matt to read more books or take more risks? Like what?
I'd say both. So yeah, I'd say like reading is super important. Like it helps to develop new ideas, like trains of thought. And don't be afraid to take risks, but calculate your risks and make sure they're not stupid risks, if you will.
And for those listening, when I say read, I also mean like listening to books or watching YouTube videos.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really just gaining information, because I think that a lot of what we're trying to educate people on isn't really taught in schools. Like they're not teaching you how to be the best money maker. They teach you how to be the best employee. And
for sure.
So yeah, it's cool. It's interesting to do that. Is there any good books that you've read recently that you would recommend?
Yes, Ray Dalio, Principles is probably one of my favorite books, and it really breaks down like different principles and different values to kind of apply to your life, or how you can apply them to your life. I think that is a game changer for me to read that book. I definitely recommend it to anybody that I engage with or work with.
Awesome. Okay. So I think we're going to go to the Pasa segment. So I don't know, I haven't seen these videos either. Okay. So we're going to try to watch these things, and let's see what we got here.
Show you how.
Okay.
Let me show you how. There's this thing called seller financing, or vendor take-back mortgage in Canada. And if you ever wanted to invest in real estate, this is one way to do it. You don't have to put any money up front.
Okay, so this guy's talking about purchasing a property without any money
for you. This is pretty much a second loan to the seller who arranged the down payment for this home. Even though this is common for commercial business.
Yeah, it's super non-engaging.
Yeah.
Real estate in Canada is showing signs that it's going to crash. The crazy housing prices that we've seen in the last few years is finally showing cracks, and the big banks are estimating anywhere from a 25%.
Okay, so this is a video about a guy. We're going to drop prices 20%.
So it's interesting. I feel like he's not like backing. Why is he not backing any of the data that he's saying?
Yeah, this is, I think, a very big fear mongering video. Like it's happening a lot. I don't know. Personally, I think that houses are going to continue to go up because we're getting a lot of foreign investors coming into our country, especially with the whole working from home because of COVID. It's definitely changing the way that the world is working. Like there are guys that, are making really big money with, like big tech companies in California, for example, and they're moving to Toronto because they don't want to live in expensive California, but they can come to Toronto and, live on the bridle path for a fraction of the cost of, some of the properties out there in California. So I think that's definitely changing the way money is moving. And I think a lot of money is moving into Canada, which is why we have this housing crisis. I mean, they just announced 500,000 immigrants, I think it was. They were saying that they want to transition into Canada over the next few years.
And do you think that like this has like to do with like remote work changing like the aspect, or do you think it's like more of like the affordability? Like what do you think like is really driving
I think it's a mix of both. I think COVID has proven what this millennial generation has been saying, that like we don't want to go to work, we don't want to be in the office, we could do everything I do at the office from home. And in a lot of cases, I think that is very true. And COVID kind of helped perpetuate that right to the forefront of all businesses. And, like even some bigger businesses have been closing down and consolidating the physical shopping because, Shopify, Amazon, all of these companies are really changing the dynamic of how this world is working, which is why I think there is that shift in prices and everything like that.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's check out the next one. These are very tough, Darren.
This is Ontario's best
kept real estate secret.
Video, but these
okay,
are things
it's gonna be a long
you
video.
Need to know if you're gonna buy tax lien sales on OntarioTaxSales.ca.
Tax lien sales.
OntarioTaxSales.ca is not the MLS. You're typically not buying brand new homes. Something for an investor. Property needs work.
I've looked at some of these things. I've at one point I was looking to purchase on
that's something to keep in mind. Another thing as well. After you purchase the property,
tax sales property. I don't know if you ever looked into
I have not, no, but I've been curious about it because I know it's big in the States.
It's massive in the States for sure. It's more lucrative in the States than I think in Canada. I don't think we don't have the same financial irresponsibility, I guess, from the lenders. I think it's a lending thing over there. So there isn't as much of this available. But funny enough, my wife, she's from Nova Scotia.
Okay.
Her family's from Nova Scotia. And her uncle always told me about how you could purchase deals through these tax, people who have, forfeited or gotten their house foreclosed, and they're just so backed in taxes that you can just purchase their properties. And then I went on a trip. He was telling me $5,000 for these houses, and I was like,
$5,000 for this.
I was like, there's no way you could buy a house for $5,000. Nowhere on the planet.
Yeah.
And I went to Nova Scotia. And on the newspaper, they would print, so it's only printed on the local newspaper.
Okay.
And they have the list of the houses that are on foreclosed, and they sell them for $5,000, $6,000. It is so crazy.
So do these houses go into bidding wars like this? Do they start do they actually sell for $5,000?
I don't know. I didn't look into it. I just saw the listing, so I'm assuming they get bid up a bit. But it was
still crazy to see it's
lucrative to see that it starts out there. I mean, mind you, they weren't in downtown Nova Scotia. They're in some of the remote areas of Nova Scotia. It wasn't in Halifax, but it was up north areas. But even those houses there, they only go for $65,000, which is pretty cheap for a
that's awesome.
2-3 bedroom home down there. Okay, let's keep going on this video here.
Close within 30 days, and they're typically not going to give you a chance at doing an inspection condition or financing condition.
Yeah, buying these things as is. I looked at one, and it was a weed grow up, and the work that has to go into fixing one of those things is.
What did you find were some core problems in that situation?
The grow up is just mold everywhere, and super penetrated into actually the structure and everything like that. So you would have to treat or replace a lot of the wood in that building.
Structure of the building.
And that obviously can become costly because you got to get an engineer in there to help you kind of how you're going to replace a beam that's completely molded right through. And then even I find on some of those things, getting rid of the smell is also another challenge. You can get rid of the mold and you can keep that under control or remove, but
still has an underlying smell.
It's very difficult. We did one project and it had it was a dog, I think, that urinated like crazy, and it sunk through the subfloor and into the joists.
Yeah.
And we tried to spray it the first time, and then that did not work. And then we opened up all of the subfloor and really coated the whole goddamn every piece of the wood.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
And it still reeked, and we had to get this machine that would I don't even know how it worked. It would throw these particles into the air, and they would get attach itself to the smell, and it would I guess encapsulate. It would encapsulate the smell, so it didn't smell anymore. But it was you could spend a lot of money trying to get rid of a smell. That's for sure. No, that's not it. Oh, it is. Okay. Oh, this is good old Zach.
Here's a 5-year plan that anybody can follow to buy a
5-year plan to buy a home.
So the average home price in 2022 in Canada is $816,000.
Okay, it's pointing
and a
at
5% mortgage.
5% mortgage.
It's going to be $40,800. So this is what we need to get to. First thing you need to do is take $460 per month and put it into an RRSP account, and then invest that money into the S&P 500, which should give us an average return of about 8% per year. Now, at the end of year 5 here, we should be left with just under $35,000 in that RRSP account. Now, since this money is going into an RRSP account, that means that we're going to get a refund come tax time of around $1,600 per year, assuming we make a $54K salary. So when we add up the money we saved in our RRSP account, as well as the money we saved in tax refunds over the years, we now have a down payment ready of almost $43,000, well above the minimum
I guess this video is
for our mortgage.
Kind of like planning. Like we were talking about at lunch, is you got to have a plan, right? Including creating a savings and how you're going to invest your money to get to that down payment. I don't know. Is there any like saving strategies, or like how would you advise people, or what would you do, I guess, to kind of create that first nest egg that it's going to be difficult to do?
Yeah, I think it's difficult. Like if you're starting out by yourself, I find like it's going to be difficult, like no matter what. But I think the most important thing to do, and it's something that I believed in ever since I started making any money, and it's pay yourself first. So always take a portion of your income and get it into some sort of investment that you can use for your future self, and then to continue growing that nest egg.
That's super important. Also, like what I find is so easy for everyone, not just the younger generation, to get stuck into this high interest debt. And that is honestly like,
it's crazy.
I had a guy approach me at one point asking like, what should I do with my savings? And he was like saving money every paycheck, kind of like you're saying, but he also had a really high interest credit card.
Right.
And even though you're like saving and investing it, even at 5%, you're getting, blown away by the 25%. So anything that you're saving is actually just increasing your debt, even though you feel like you're saving, right? And I was like, the first thing you got to do is pay down your debt. Yeah. Pay down that high interest debt, because it catches up, and it really eliminates, even though you feel like you're saving, you're actually not, because you're going into way more debt faster than you're saving, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that's not actually like talked about much in school, or it's if you're not like going out of your way to look at it yourself, or like to teach yourself, or to have conversations directly about it. It's something that could just like easily fly over the radar.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's crucial. Like I talk to my kids about that stuff all the time. Like it is, it's like being in a boat and having a little teeny tiny bucket. And you're like trying to throw the water out, but the hole is like 10 times the size of the bucket. You're only going to drown. Okay, let's do one more. This one's got 56 gauges.
You can always tell a professional electrician did a
electrician.
The screws line up.
The lining of the screws.
Okay. So faucet.
I wonder if it's on a GFI.
Oh, I see. So it's a light switch right beside a shower, and the electrician is a very OCD kind of electrician, lined up the screws.
Yeah.
And he's mentioning that the light switch is on a GFI, which is kind of interesting. Most bathrooms by code in Ontario are on a GFI. But the GFIs are typically built into the plug. So even though it's a light switch, you would not have a GFI on a light switch. You would have it on the plug or on the circuit breaker.
Like the breaker itself.
Yeah, on the breaker itself. So I don't know. It's again, one of those videos kind of where no research, no backup, just
it's kind of thrown out there.
Just kind of throwing it out there. I mean, I'm sure it's news. I'm sure it's got a bunch of likes, but
yeah. So I guess an interesting question that like I've always been like I've been running by recently with like a couple of my buddies and really trying to sift through information on the internet. Like, do you have any tactics that you do to like sift through like actually tangible information on the internet?
That's super tough. Really is just reaching out to other people, right? Like I kind of like networking and meeting other people, and
so like
kind of like what's working.
What's
working for them, and they may refer me to a good internet source or a good software app. Like even for our construction company, I started looking for a project management software to help with managing the workload.
Right.
And the options are astronomical.
Yeah, it's like, how do you pick?
And
right?
and then the costs are all over the place, and the promises are all great. So like it is a super difficult time, even for younger people, right? Like I don't know when they start getting into other stuff. Like I'm sure how clouded is investing and mortgages, and there's going to be so many options, which is really going to make things difficult. That's the kind of the problem with information. Like, it's great that you get a lot of information, but it's also difficult to
Validate
absorb and validate.
Information overload is kind of like...
Yeah, it's. I think it's definitely a difficult thing. I don't know. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I always make sure to check like multiple sources. So if I see something, I'll try and back check it with 3 other sources. And then another thing is having conversations, like you mentioned, I think is like where I get like the most value in terms of learning. So it's like being more hands-on, being more immersed with like a conversation and learning from other people's experience directly.
Yeah,
that's the best. Like, it just can't be beat.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, you can find a million recipes online. Lots of recipes go viral, but like, you got to taste the recipe to know how good it is, right?
Exactly.
Or know somebody that already tasted it and it was like, dude, you got to try this recipe. And that's kind of like how I go for me. It's one of those things. Yeah, fact checking. I do that a lot with news articles and stuff like that. But
yeah, referrals are
I think they're
like
the
pretty
best.
key. You can't go wrong with.
Yeah, especially if you're trusting in the referral source, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what sort of methods or things are you doing to kind of get the word out for Frontstep? Because that's going to be a challenge in itself.
Absolutely. So we've been talking about like different different things and how we can engage with our customer base. And one thing that we found interesting is like providing straight up how we feel about like the market and being like super transparent about where we think the direction's going, and just providing the information and the stats in a fun way for people to look at that like makes sense and is super clear. So like just transparent information and really what we believe is the direction that we want to take our marketing.
Very interesting. Are you TikToking and dancing and dancing around the Frontstep?
I'm not a dancer, but I'm trying to get into the TikTok and trying to make some interesting content on that. We're doing like more, starting to get into reels on Instagram and doing like some static posts on there. But I think like TikTok has like some really good opportunity for delivering like information in the finance space and keeping that engaging with a younger audience.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good way to get a lot of eyeballs.
Yeah, absolutely.
On your stuff is definitely, I would say, TikTok and Instagram, the reels.
Yeah,
for sure when it comes to that stuff. Yeah, I think that's all I got for you. Just wanted to thank you for coming out and sharing
thank you so
all
much
this.
For having me. It was
great
a pleasure.
info. It's going to be interesting to see how your business continues to grow, and we'll definitely be following along. I don't know if you want to plug your socials, how people can get in contact with you if they're interested in investing. Like what?
Absolutely. So
how do we get Matt?
Yeah, so we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, and you can get us on our website, frontstep.ca, and Frontstep Investing on all our social handles.
All right, sweet. Thanks a lot again. Pleasure, Matt. And
thank you for having me.
Hopefully see some big things come your way.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Hope you enjoyed the show and thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Tacobout Investing. Join the conversation on our Discord server for more tips, advice, and speak directly to the pros, and also get access to our Reno management platform. If you have any ideas for the show or any feedback, hit me up on my socials, and let's continue to talk about investing.